Hi, today we'll be looking at the 5 main decks that you can build from the Vanguard VG-V-EB07. Okay, so basically we have two different decks from Kagero, 2 different decks from Nova Grappler, and 1 new deck from Link Joker. Okay, we will first take a look at the Draconic Overlord build. So currently my testing build will be combining both the Great and the End, but of course you can just go purely on 4 DN, 4 Draconic Overlord, and maybe 2 Waterfall according to your playstyle. But right now we are testing with 4 of the Great, 4 of the End, and 2 of normal Overlord. Okay, so basically the End is a very good finisher, but it can't really prolong the game. So I'll rather play more of the Great to ensure my survival, and Draconic Overlord for the additional attacks from the side. Okay, so that's for my Grade 3. But this is purely for my own personal playstyle, right? So as I said, I prefer the Great, so of course I'm playing 4 Neo Flames, but I can just cut it down to 3 and maybe increase it with the booster for the End, where opponent have guard restrict. Okay, so that's for blame. And as this card only boost for the End, I don't really see a need to play more than 3 copies. Okay, next will be Dragon Armored Buster for my Draconic Overlord searching. Berserk Dragon for my Grade 2 for additional draw. And the usual Elmo for the counter charge. And Dragon Newt for the draw. So as you know that the End uses a lot of hand cards for the restanding attack. So one of the few strategy that we tested out was to have either of these at the back row. Right, so after the End attack 3 times, and I have, let's say I have 2 rear guards at the side, I'll use all these resource on opponent rear guard, and if I were to hit, I just need to retire 3 of them and draw 3 cards, so I have 7 in my hand. Yeah, but that's for the best case scenario. And next I played the Griffin. When your opponents call a Guardian from hand, you can Soul Blast 1 and retire it, but take note, Sentinel's attack ability will still hold. So this is only purely for things like the heal triggers, all this bigger defense against the bigger defense. So it's optional, you can don't play them at all and go for Rapier instead. And during the test play, these 2 actually was very useful. This for Bip Master, but as long as the attack hits when boosting, I can just counter blast 1, draw 1, and soul charge 1. So if I'm lucky during my Grade 2 turn, I can actually push any of the Draconic Overlord into soul, and I can activate the End on my first strike. Right, so this gives the opponent additional pressure at the early game whether to guard or not to guard. So this is actually a pretty good option, I would say. And for the trigger is the usual 8 critical, 4 heal, 4 sentinel, and the next thing will be for the force marker, right? Preferably I'll use force 1 as the additional power actually give a lot of pressure to the opponent, but force 2 actually forces your opponent to guard from very early in the game, as 2 critical. If you're Draconic Overlord on top, when Soul Blast 1 plus 10,000, there'll be 23,000 with 2 crit with additional boost. It's actually very painful, and you force your opponent to guard. So if he or she guard, you'll control the counter blast. If he or she do not guard, 2 critical, you get to withstand. Okay, and even if they guard, in order for them to have the counter blast, they will have to let this go through. So this is actually pretty interesting for mind game. Okay, so that's basically for the Dragonic Overlord. So you can either mix the Great and the End together, or just separate them into two different decks. Okay, so that's for Overlord. Now let's take a look at the long-awaited Bip Master, which is one of the earliest to come back from the G series. So this deck basically is focusing on destroying your opponent's field, more on burning compared to Overlord. So if there's no rear guard, this unit get plus 5001 crit. And if you have the specific grade 2 and grade 1 on the field, you can soul blast 1 grade 3, discard 2 cards in hand, and call a token with Thin Drive onto the field until the end of the turn. So this is actually a very interesting deck. So for the grade 3, basically, of course, Bip Master will play 4 copies. And we have a Bip Master Searcher. So enter the field, soul blast 1, look at top 7, add a Dragonic Bip Master to hand, and this unit plus 5000. So definitely a 4 copy, especially since they actually give you a force marker. 2 copies of this. I chose this instead of the Dual X as this Vanguard and Rearguard effect. So enter the field, counter plus 1, soul plus 1, mill the top deck, and you burn according to what's the grade. And if you retire 1 or less, no, if you didn't retire any unit, this unit get plus 1 critical. And V and R, so I can actually put a rearguard circle and attack with it. Why not? So I chose this instead. And I have 3 vanillas with 10,000 shield. Basically my ideal field will not have any other grade 2s on the field, so this is just there for the additional shield, or in case I miss grade, I can actually write this instead. And Dragonic Burnout, not for the burning of the opponent rearguard, more of retrieving my grade 2 and grade 3s. As I said, Bip Masters need the specific puzzle pieces, so actually this will pull back my puzzle piece in case it went to the drop zone or somewhere else. Okay, so these are the main. Talk about this in a while. Okay, let's go for the rest. And as Bip Master's ability burns everything on the field, when boosted, if there's opponent have no rear guard, your opponent have to call 2 or more to guard. So this is for my Bip Master. So I can put both on the center and the left with my token. Aramo and Dragonute, since I'm burning the field, so might as well gain resources from them. And since my deck is pretty packed, so I cut down Aramo by 1. As the counter charge is not that essential in this deck. Okay, so for the triggers, I have additional draw because I need the puzzle piece as early as I can. So 6 draw, 3 crit, 6 crit, 4 heal, the usual. And right, this is the main combo. So as long as I can call this onto the rearguard circle, I can just counter blast 1 and search for this to my hand. So, to call it on the field. So when boosted, if opponent have no rearguard, okay, when this card attacks, if opponent have no rearguards, they cannot call normal unit onto the field, so they can only call trigger unit to guard, which is very strong. When there's no rear guard, this unit gets plus 5000, so you can actually use it behind your Vanguard circle if you need. And when boosting, if attack hit, counter blast 1, draw 1, and you get the soul charge 1. So you can actually increase your ammo for your Dragonic Bip Master from very early in the game. And as I said, the ideal field just now, so most of the time, the field should look something like this. Okay, so my front row is actually back. So the only option that I have is actually the back row. So most probably it will be either Elmo, Dragonute, the Wyvern, or this. So I have 4 choices along these 2 circles. And the burning of the field is very consistent and actually burn everything. So it's actually a very good counter against Bermuda meta right now. As I tried a few games against Bermuda, it actually works pretty well. And as for the marker, as this deck requires a lot of riding, so I will recommend Force 1. Right, so if I have to Force 1, it's actually very painful as both of them have twin drive. Right, Force 2 is a bit difficult as even if I have an additional critical, if the power is not big enough, it's easily you can easily guard it. So I'll prefer Force 1 for this deck. Right, so that's for Dragon Bip Master. Okay, now let's take a look at the hero deck, which is actually a very interesting build. Okay, so let's start from the main Vanguard. So this is the ideal thing that you actually ride. So as long as in the Vanguard circle, all units, including yours, can only attack the Vanguard. Okay, so basically you already protected your rear guards from getting attacked. So the only problem with it is getting burned. Okay, next is when this card attacks and you have 4 or more unit in the front row, this unit get plus 10,000 during this turn, and I can choose to counter blast 4, and during this the opponent must call 3 units from hand when they are guarding. Okay, which is a very strong defense mechanic. Every single attack, if they want to guard, they have to throw 3 cards. So even if you use Sentinel, you need to discard additional 2, which is 4 cards. Okay, so this is our main Vanguard, the main VR from this set. And next, let's take a look at this. So this is our defense mechanic. And as long as on the Vanguard rearguard circle and I have 5 or more hero on my rearguard circle, all my guarding get plus 10,000 and you can actually stack. So all my grade 3s are essentially at least 10,000 guard. If I have 2, 20,000. So I'm thinking of maybe reducing this to 3 and add it to the Mist Splendor. When my hero attacks, during this battle, opponent can intercept, and if I have more rearguard than my opponent, this unit get plus 3,000, which is stackable at the same time. So 2 of them will equal to 6,000 for every additional attack. But the only issue is with the Excel marker. So I'm a bit contemplating whether to play 2 or 3 copies. Next, let's go for the grade 2s. So let's look at old cards. First of all, I have Cardbola for the additional 5,000. As long as I have other hero on the field, so it's 14,000 base. If I have Excel marker with additional power, and not forgetting Mist Splendor. Boomerang for the counter charge and soul charging, which is not really essential, so I only kept it 2 copies. Yeah, but there's still situation where I need him, so I'm still keeping it 2. And when my Vanguard get attacked, I can Soul Blast 1, and during this turn, this unit get plus 5,000 for each damage. So if I have 4 damage, it'll be plus 20,000, and after that intercept, 25k intercept. Very interesting, and with the Dolly, I actually get an additional 10,000 if I need. So these are additional defense. And this is the counter against my opponent's burning of my unit. So when my other unit got retired, I can Soul Blast 1 and return it back to hand. Okay, and when attacking, I get plus 3,000 for each card in my damage zone. So actually, I would like to play 4 copies of this instead. It's actually very strong. It's more of my main attacker. And we have Shout for in case I have issues with cards in my hand. So just 2 copy for emergency situation. 3 copy of the Jet Riser, which I can actually replace it with other hero units. But every time I call something, I get plus 3,000, and this deck requires me to have a full field, so kept it at 3, and maybe changing it to other heroes if needed. And when boosting Soul Blast 1 plus 5,000, but it's a grade 1 8,000. So okay, this one when riding, I can review the VR and deal 1 damage to you and your opponent. So I can actually add my counter blast and deal 1 damage to the opponent. The effect is not really that important. It's the hero trait that I need, because I need 5 or more to activate most of the abilities. Okay, then the trigger is actually the basic. So 4 heal, 4 crit, 4 front, 4 draw. But I'll recommend to have more front, like maybe 6 front to 2 crit. Yeah. And these decks, because you need to keep calling units from your hand, so strongly recommended to have XL2. Okay, as the additional power, the 5000 difference is really not very important if I have things like Mist Blender and Hustler. So yeah, so there's the hero build. As you can check the other videos that I've done already, it's actually pretty stable. Okay, so that's hero. Okay, let's take a look at the Beast Deity, which is not really a new build, it's more of a upgrade. So the main vanguard for this build is still Ultra Dragon itself. Right, so when enter field, counter blast 1, draw 1, call 1. And when attacking, can counter blast 1 and stand off your rear guard. So this is the main. Next, we have a new dragon that just joined us. So during this turn, as a vanguard rear guard, as long as one of my unit hits, this thing gets plus 15,000. So you solve your power issue. And as a vanguard, if my rear guard's attack did not hit, I can counter blast 1 and stand it, and it gets plus 10,000. So as a vanguard, as a rear guard, it works either way. And maximum riser, which I can't really discard it because it's a 22,000 before anything, so it's still strong. Okay, genocide check or brutal check. There's 2 functions. One is for the plus 10,000, and the next ability is to rest 2 units to withstand this, which I'll go to that later. Okay, then let's take a look at new addition. Let's take a look at Typhoon. So when enter the field as a vanguard rearguard circle, if it's on the vanguard circle or on the additional rearguard circle, I can choose a unit plus 5,000, so power boost. Once per turn during attack, if there are rearguard in all my front row, counter blast 1 and stand on my rearguard. So I can actually stand my unit with this. So cap it at 3 first. Next, this one will enter during main phase, and I have a grade 3 Beast Deity. I can counter blast 1, discard 1 card from my hand. This unit get plus 3,000, and I can attack the vanguard. If it didn't hit, stand this unit. I replaced this with the Black Tortoise because of the additional power. But the only issue with this card is, even if I call it using my Ultra Dragon, it will not get the plus 3,000. Right, so that's the drawback. Okay, next let's go for the new cards again. So, rearguard effect. Once per turn, when your other unit attack and you have Beast Deity, grade 3 Vanguard, Soul Blast 1 and stand this unit. So, as long as any of my unit attacks, I can just Soul Blast 1 to stand. So for different situation, I can actually use this. So, example, if I do not have Vermilion Bird on the field, I can choose to rest 2 of these to stand my Genocide Check. And when Genocide Check attack, I can Soul Blast 1 to stand this row again. Right, so it's actually quite versatile in many different situations. Let's say my Ultra Dragon stand a unit, I can just Counter Blast 1, stand a unit, Soul Blast 1 and stand this again. So I might have another row attacker. Right, so even though this is free, but I can actually put this in the front row to attack. So it's 3-3 for now. Right, and we have 3 shout again to change my hand cards or to soul charge. As you can see, most of my unit now using soul. So 3 copies of this, and we have Vermilion Bird to stand all my rear guards with a one soul blast and draw 1 if white tiger is in soul. So 4 copies. That's the reason why I played most of the cards that actually requires resting. Right, and the trigger is as usual balance. So 4 front, 4 crit, 4 heal, but it's up to your personal preference. And as for this deck, I strongly recommend to play XL1, as this is a beat down deck. The 5,000 actually make a very big difference against decks like Force with 13,000 base. If I hit it during the main phase and they manage to trigger, the 5,000 actually make a very big difference for the whole game. So and Azure Dragon already solved my hand issue. Shout solved my hand issue. I don't really need to have additional draw 1 with XL2, as this deck normally will settle within the second right. So XL1 for the Beast deity. Right, the last deck that we'll be taking a look at will be Messiah. Okay, the long-awaited Messiah. So as this deck requires a lot of locking and unlocking of your own unit, so definitely a 4 copy for Messiah, you need this. But the main issue with this card is a second right. So unless you manage to soul charge another Great Tree into soul, this card is pretty hard to play as your first right. Okay, so we will have to go for an alternative, which this is a very strong rear guard, but as a vanguard it's not that great. But as it helps to lock your unit, so and it gains power for every lock card, so definitely 3 copies. So that goes for the second Great Tree, which after testing between Deleter and Brun, I still think Deleter is a lot more stable. As first of all, even if I didn't draw Messiah, I can counterblast to the delete, and it's a lot of pressure against the opponent with high power. His defense is technically 0. Okay, and if the attack hit, I can Soul Blast 1 to bind an opponent's rear guard in face down. I banished it. So right now I'm testing with 3 copies of Deleter instead. But I may be going for 4 copies of Custodian, these 4 copies, and maybe 2 copies of Deleter or Brun. Okay, so that's for the Grade 3. Let's take a look at the Grade 2. First of all, we have the Lady Butler. So when attacking Soul Blast 1, discard 1 card from hand, look at top card, call it onto rear guard circle as lock, and draw 1. Okay, so you lock a unit and you draw 1, which is it's a bit random. It's a bit random because there's no cards that allow you to check the top of the deck, but it actually gives you an additional attack force with Messiah, and also you give additional power to this, as it gets plus 5,000 for every lock units. So 4 copies, and we have the Blast Monk. So when attacking counter plus 1, choose an opponent rear guard, bind it face down. If grade 2 and above, soul charge 1. So if I'm lucky, I manage to soul charge a grade 3 into soul, then yeah, I can activate Messiah from the very beginning. As there's no GB or whatever in this current gameplay, so you can do this from early game. And it's a Vanguard rear guard effect, so I can call 3 and try to let it hit. And if I'm lucky, I'll get another grade 3 in soul. Okay, this is a very interesting card. When unlock, counter plus 1, reveal the top, add it to hand. If it's a grade 3, you can discard 2 cards in your hand and stand your Vanguard. Okay, this is a restander. And you also get to draw 1 with a 1 counter plus. But since there are ways to call it out in bind like Messiah, so I kept it at 3. Okay, let's take a look at the grade 1s. Right, so we have Destiny Dealer. When enter field as a Vanguard, you can put the top deck into your rearguard circle in lock, but you can't see it until it's on the field. So from top deck, instantly just lock, and you can choose on which circle you want it. So just in case, normally I'll put it at the back row in case. But if you want to try your luck with a interceptor, so you can put it in front row if need. Second ability is a active ability. Once per turn, Soul Blast 1, look at top. This time you can look. So you can look at the top of the deck, put it onto any of the rearguard circle and rest. So with Messiah unlocking in the later part of the game, this is actually very useful. 4 copies. And we have Dustblade. When boosting and the attack hits a Vanguard, counter blast 1, bind an opponent rearguard. And if your Vanguard is grade 3 and above, draw 1. So counter blast 1, bind 1, draw 1. Definitely a plus. Right, next go to these 2. Okay, first of all, we have this. if you have Harmonics Messiah on your Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, and you have lock cards, Soul Blast 1 lock this, so it lock itself, and you counter charge 1. Right, you just need 1 copy of this, so I don't see really a need to play more than 2. And it's probably 7,000. It's not a very good unit to write at the start. And every time a card gets locked, or you call a lock card, this card gets plus 5,000. So this is a very strong boost for your Vanguard. And the trigger is the usual: 4 heal, 8 crit, 4 draw, and this first Vanguard. As for the marker, there's a lot of debate between Force 1 and Force 2, but this deck does multiple attack, so I will still think that Force 1 is still a better choice, as the critical is not that important in this deck. You need more of the power. As this deck is a second right deck, you need a multiple attacking. Even if I have the critical on my Rearguard Circle, with the additional 15,000 with no guard restrict, it's actually not that painful. Okay, so I will go for Force 1. So if I restand my Messiah at additional 10,000. So Force 1 for my Messiah build. But of course you can test out Force 2 with a different playstyle. There's no right or wrong answer, but personal preference is still Force 1 for this deck.